It was supposed to be a night of celebration, a night where the most powerful people in America, politicians, journalists, cabinet members, would gather under one roof, set aside their differences, and share a meal together, one of the most prestigious events on the Washington calendar. A tradition, a moment of unity in a city that rarely sees it. But last night, April the 25th, 2026, that all changed in a matter of seconds when gunshots rang out at the White House Correspondents' dinner, sending thousands of guests diving under tables, Secret Service agents flooding the ballroom, and the President of the United States being rushed off the stage in front of a stunned and terrified crowd. The dinner was being held at the Washington Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C., and this year was especially significant because it marked the first time President Donald Trump had attended as a sitting president. The room that night was not just full of journalists and celebrities. Vice President J.D. Vance was there, FBI Director Kash Patel was there, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., senior cabinet officials, top government figures, all of them under one roof, all of them in one ballroom. Security was described beforehand as almost on the level of a national security event, with metal detectors, tactical teams, armed agents, and massive coordination between the Secret Service and law enforcement agencies across the city. They prepared for everything. And still it happened. At approximately 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time, while dinner was being served, and people were laughing and talking and living their normal lives, gunshots were fired near the main security screening area of the Washington Hilton. CNN anchor Wolf Blitzer, who was standing outside the main ballroom at that exact moment, reported being only a few feet away from the gunman when the shots rang out, describing the shooter firing what appeared to be a very serious weapon at least 6 times before being tackled and brought to the ground. Inside the ballroom, people heard the shots. Secret Service agents began yelling, "Shots fired," and then everything changed at once. Agents swarmed the stage. President Trump was immediately surrounded and rushed off. Armed guards in full tactical gear appeared on the platform within seconds, and the First Lady, the Vice President, the Press Secretary, and cabinet members were all swept out of the room and moved to secure locations within the hotel. In that ballroom, 2,600 people abandoned their meals and dropped to the floor, some crawling under tables, some chanting, "God bless America," some chanting USA, people filming, people shaking, nobody knowing how bad it was, nobody knowing if it was over, nobody knowing if whoever did this was still out there. But he wasn't, because the suspect never made it inside the ballroom. He was stopped at the security checkpoint outside, taken down before he could reach the room where the President of the United States was sitting. One Secret Service officer was shot in the confrontation. He was wearing a bullet-resistant vest and is expected to make a full recovery. The suspect was identified as Cole Allen, 31 years old, a former tutoring teacher from Torrance, California, who approached the screening area armed with multiple weapons, including what sources described as a shotgun, charged the checkpoint, and was taken down by Secret Service agents. Trump left the hotel at 9:45 p.m. and went directly to the White House. And later that night, he stood in the briefing room still in his black tie attire and addressed the nation, praising the Secret Service, confirming the officer who was shot was doing well, and saying the suspect's motivations would become clear in the coming days. When a reporter asked him point blank whether he believed he was the target, Trump paused and said, "I guess." This was not the first time. In July 2024, he survived an assassination attempt at a rally in Pennsylvania. Months later, another man tried to kill him at his golf course in Florida. And now this, a third incident, a third moment where something could have gone terribly and irreversibly wrong inside one of the most secured events in the country. Tonight, investigators are asking the questions that need to be answered. How did an armed man get that close to a checkpoint protecting the President of the United States? What was his motive? What was he trying to accomplish? And what does it say about the world we are living in right now when an event built around the freedom of the press becomes a crime scene? Those answers are still coming, but what we know tonight is this. One officer took a bullet so that others did not have to. The Secret Service did their job. And once again, in a city full of tension and division, something happened that nobody wanted, and the country is left trying to make sense of it. Stay with this story, because it is far from over.